Welcome. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Today, the Pathways journey begins with one step, and I thank you for sharing this time with me, taking this step in this cornucopia of knowledge that we're going to be exploring together today. Format for today, we're going to start basically with the Pathways value proposition. Why pathways? And then once we've sort of whet that interest, we're going to talk about how to get comfortable and started with level one. And then finally, we're going to go into audience questions. Why study pathways? Well, let's start with what it has to offer, what it proposes, the principles are in which the curriculum is built. There are 5 core competencies. The first one is public speaking. Second, interpersonal communication. 3, strategic leadership. 4, management. And those build up to our confidence. There are 11 paths. I'm just going to sort of display them for you to be aware of. Quite a few choices to get started with. But now I really want to go into what is the personal value that I've gained from Pathways that perhaps I can share with you. First of all, the Toastmasters learning model really stands out. Next, public speaking for me personally, communication, and leadership. What is the Toastmasters learning model? As I understand it, it's actually do, learn, teach. Now that sounds a little counterintuitive, doesn't it? Normally you think about, well, you learn how to do something, then you do it, and then if you're so inclined, you might decide to teach it. But what I find very interesting is in Toastmasters, when you switch that order, you do it, you build your own context, shall we say. In other words, you've chosen this project for your own reasons, for your own context. And then through doing it is actually how we learn. And then Toastmasters is just inherently such a community-based organization, we find ourselves teaching it for those that are interested in that process. And then finally, we talked about that 5th core competency of confidence. I think there's really no better way to do this than to experience it, try things, and it's a safe place to fail in this community environment. Public speaking. We learn to speak clearly and confidently through experience in our meetings each week. Next, we develop gestures, stage movement, speechcraft in general. For example, if I want to delineate certain points, I might use a gesture like this point, then this one, then this one. Hopefully that aids to the fact that I'm pointing out certain things. Another aspect, if I want you to really believe something, or I want you to know that I believe it, I might come forward in the camera and say, do you understand how important this is? Or I might step back and let you think about it, see what you think. Connect with your audience. Number one, I'm still trying to learn this. It took me a number of years to realize that there's a very powerful combination where you find the things that you're passionate about, but make sure to align that with the things that the audience is in fact passionate about. And when you combine those two, the learning and success is really astounding. And until a person learns that through the experience in Toastmasters each week, it can be rather challenging to get that message across. Communication. Understanding effective and supportive feedback. In other words, developing listening skills. There's a reason that we have 2 of these and 1 of these. One thing that I learned, throughout my time in Toastmasters is, when in doubt, just stop and listen. And I think this really ties into another benefit in Toastmasters and Pathways, which is learning about different communication and leadership styles. When we stop and we listen, we can really understand where the other person is coming from and hopefully find that common purpose. Leadership, I would say definitely Toastmasters is very much about collaboration. If that's of interest to you, you'll find it in Toastmasters. Leading with vision, mission, purpose. In other words, how can we come together with our purpose in a given task or project, and how can we reach people's hearts and minds? Just like today's meeting, you get a chance to plan fun, organized, and meaningful events. Pathways includes, as we said previously, there are 11 paths, which forms the curricula for this. There are 5 levels within each path, and it's a combination of required and elective projects, personalized and versatile to your interests. Here's just a look under the hood of one of the paths that I've done, leadership development, one of my favorites actually. And I just want to share a few of these where several of these are really open-ended in terms of the topics that you might decide to utilize. However, you'll bring them through these projects to develop skill sets with your choice of topic. In other words, you're taking your own context and then sort of honing those skills accordingly. An example, the evaluation and feedback project. This is a project where you will choose your own topic, you'll receive an evaluation, then the next speech is that you'll actually apply that feedback on your presentation style, and then finally you'll give an evaluation. So it's sort of fit into that skill set of evaluation, but it's your topic. Level 3 has all of these electives, and there are many that fit this category. Examples, using presentation software, your message, but using presentation software. There is instructional material, how to work with that, connect with storytelling, creating visual aids, descriptive language, connect with your audience, several of these. You'll notice that the elective, it says choose 2 in order to complete a given level. In this case, level 3, you would complete the required one, which is planning and implementing, and then you'd get a chance to choose 2 of these based upon your interests. And don't worry if you don't catch it the first time, because there are other paths and you'll get a chance to choose them then. Okay, I hope that I've at least gotten you curious about this. We're going to now hopefully sit back in our chairs, get a little bit more comfortable with level 1 and start getting started in general. Brief topics, we're going to learn how to complete your icebreaker project. This is really important because not only is it your first speech in Toastmasters where you kind of get your feet wet, and it's really just about speaking about yourself, building rapport, getting your feet wet. But this is how you will complete every project in every level in every path. This will also include in this process logging into your Pathways Basecamp with basic navigation, kind of getting around in there. We'll be talking about the project window. That's where the learning takes place. This is where you access your project, sort of the basics. A few basic definitions to make sure we're on the same page. What is Pathways? Pathways is the main Toastmasters International Learning Curriculum. What's a path? A path is one of the 11 separate curricula offered within Pathways. What is Basecamp? Basecamp is the online platform Pathways uses. A lot of times people get confused. Isn't Pathways Basecamp and Basecamp Pathways? They are 2 different things. Pathways is the larger curriculum where Basecamp is the online platform that it uses. Then finally, what's a project? Project includes the speech or speeches and other tasks required for completion and credit in the curriculum. Logging in to Pathways and Basecamp. We go to toastmasters.org and we click the login button. There we type in our member ID and email, password, and press the button there to log in. Of course, there are many things you can do in toastmasters.org, but what we want to do in this case is click on Pathways, because this is what we want to do. We want to log into Pathways and Basecamp. Then you'll specify Basecamp there once that shows up. And scrolling down the screen, you click one more time, go to Basecamp. Congratulations, give yourselves a hand. You're now logged into Basecamp. Woohoo! A couple of definitions or terms I just want to throw your way under paths and learning. We're about to do this in a moment. Activate, you'll see this term. And really all that means is it sort of starts it for the first time, either your path or your project. And once you've done that, you'll see that it will be, I'll show you in a moment what that is, but activate is only one time when you're first accessing. launch for your project is what you'll see every time after that to participate in your education. And then similarly, for your path, it'll now say open curriculum every time. So there's an example. I had not accessed write a compelling blog at that time, so I needed to press activate to even start this process. Once I did, I was now able to see launch, and that is what allows me to then take part in that particular project. And you can see leadership development. That was my path, and it's open curriculum. You could kind of think of it like this way. It's opening a book. This is how you get to the material. All right, off to completing your icebreaker project. And as a reminder, this is how you will complete every project at every level in every path. So we are at the Pathways Basecamp homepage. From here, which you learned how to do, the paths in learning is what we'll click on. And then, of course, you remember open curriculum. And here we are inside my leadership development path. Now, you might notice on the left is sort of the high level view. You can see level 1, 2, 3, all of that. That's sort of the whole big picture. And I've selected level 1, so you can see on the right 2/3 or so, all of my projects within level 1. In this case, the first speech that I am going to do, and you would do if this was your first time, is icebreaker. So I'm going to launch this. This brings us to the project window, and all these arrows are basically how you're going to get around in your project window. The top two, you'll see left and right arrows. On the left, it's how you return to a previous page within the project window, and then the one on the right, of course, you advance to the next one. At the bottom, you'll see back and next on the left there. Basically, if you see that, then you would keep clicking next, next, next until you've gotten those circles all the way to the far right. And then finally, directions on the bottom right. That's if you're not sure what to do within that particular slide within the project, you would click on that and get directions on what needs to be done. Now, this is my favorite aspect of getting around in the project window. I love this. I call it the fast access toolbar. Other people might just simply call it a down arrow, but it's a way that you can get anywhere, anytime within a project. So by clicking on that, you get all of these options, and those, if you don't want to keep clicking all these chevrons or arrows, as we call them, you could just get there immediately with this. Now, I want to bring to your attention that there are actually only two things you need to do to be able to actually complete a project. The first one is access your evaluation. This is where you'll find the evaluation form. And in Pathways Basecamp, we just call that an evaluation resource. So we click on that to access the form, send it to our evaluator. And the thing that actually completes the project is, which is going to get you registered as having done this within the curriculum, is assess your skills after. So you would click on that. It's sort of a survey where you'll be asked these questions. And of course, you can see the back and next. You'd keep clicking next, answering these questions. And then once you've done that, you would click that right chevron, that right arrow to proceed forward. And you will get this sort of comparison. If you've done the assess your skills before, it'll compare them both. Again, press that right chevron, that arrow. And congratulations, you've now completed your first project. Woohoo! Excellent. And you'll know because once you log back into the tab with your Basecamp, you'll see that check mark that I've circled there. To recap, the Pathways curriculum includes skill development and 5 core competencies: public speaking, interpersonal communication, strategic leadership, management, confidence. There are 11 paths which form the curricula, 5 levels within each path, a combination of required and elective projects, personalized and versatile to your interests. As far as the technical, we learned how to complete your icebreaker project. This is how you complete every project and every level and every path. This included logging into your Pathways Basecamp with basic navigation, getting around, project window where you access your project, the basics. I look forward to your questions from you in the audience. Thank you so much joining me on this path, and certainly look forward to your questions and interaction.
Thank you, Dave. How about now we open it up to the 11 to 15 minutes of Q&A.
Well, I have one quick question for Dave.
Okay, let's go with Angie, I believe. Yes.
I have one quick question. Did you have a relative by the name of Adele Bones?
No, but I'm always up for meeting distant relatives.
I just wondered because I knew her.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I'll have to look out for Adele. Yes, thank you. Yes. And wonderful. Harvey.
Okay, let's say you had, you did your level 1 and you're on a particular path. Can you, for whatever reason, can you jump from, say, jump into level 3 or level 2, kind of mix it at the same time, or you just have to, you are required to stay on that level 2 until you finish it, then go jump into the next level? Is that
Very good question, Harvey. And I'm just going to show you as we talk here. I'm going to go into my paths in learning here, which I have called up. I've already logged in and everything. And let's just make sure everybody in the audience understands this. So what we can do is we can actually choose any path. For example, I appear to be in 3 paths right now. And let's just say we're going to talk about strategic relationships. So we can go there, open that. And yes, even at level 1, let's just say if I hadn't checked off all those projects at this point, let's just say if I've just done my icebreaker and maybe I've done some evaluation and feedback, but now Karen, as my VP of Education, has granted me the ability to be topics master. That happens to be a level 3 project as an elective. So what I would then do, even though I'm only level 1, is I would look down and I would look for this project called active listening. Let's see if we can find that. There it is. So I haven't done that in this one. This would be an opportunity. I'll show you how to do this. You click on activate first time, and then I would launch it. This is a level 3 elective. And absolutely I can choose to do this. One thing that I really encourage people is never do a speech without getting credit in Pathways. So this is loading. Toastmasters sometimes takes a while to think. And here it is, thinking. And just to kind of cut to the chase with the fast access toolbar, what we can do is figure out what that entails. Basically, the purpose of this project is to demonstrate your ability to listen. And long story short, that entails me being table topics master. Harvey, I tried to flesh that out so a lot of people could understand what we were talking about. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, yes, it did. Thank you.
Great. Karen, you had your hand up next.
That's my biggest problem. Anyway, this is kind of a 2-pronged question, and it probably sounds critical, but in the past, I have to set up the background for my question. In the past, Toastmasters International has given us some time to transition if they change something. They have recently changed level 1, and they would have a proviso saying that your old level 1 stuff is good through, say, December 31st. But I didn't hear about this until October, and then all of a sudden it changed. And I'm wondering, as a VP of Ed or VPP, how would you tell people, say they started level 1 and they've gotten some stuff done or even completed it, how would you tell them, or would you tell them, well, that stuff's no good anymore, you just have to throw it away? They changed the requirements for level 1 and didn't really advertise that well. I don't want to be that VP or PE or VPP. What do you do about that?
Okay, very good question. I would love to clarify that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to take this opportunity to bring you to the new D7 Pathways Learning Center, and it addresses precisely that question. So just so you all know, this is here 24/7. An immense amount of time and effort was put into this to make it a one-stop educational experience. In the past, we've done webinars where someone has a question like this. It's like, oh, no problem. Google it. Or another response, oh, yes, log into this site, but don't forget to press this button and this and that. And, at that point, we've lost whoever that was. So what I want to do is tell you, if you can get to the d7toastmasters.org page, I hope you've been here. This is our district website. If you haven't been here, I encourage you to go here. It's sort of where you get a chance to find out what's going on in the district. A lot of fun things going on. But in this case, we go to the Pathways menu, and then that opens up, and this down arrow, this thing called the Pathways Learning Center. So this will now bring us to a separate page, and here it is. It is Pathways resources to help fellow Toastmasters with education and related member needs. Most importantly, if you remember nothing else from this page, please remember the motto, which is helping Toastmasters members one at a time. Let me just say that again. Helping Toastmasters members one at a time. Often we look at these metrics about how many people have adopted Pathways, percentages, but I don't think that's the right question to ask sometimes. I think it's a good one, but really, did you help one member? Let's talk about that, and I want to help Karen right now with her question and anybody else that's curious. So what I'm going to do is scroll down to precisely the area that she was asking about. There are a ton of resources. I'm completely available. My contact information is at the bottom of this page. But I want to address her specific question. And we're going to do that in this section here. It's called intermediate/advanced level tools and reference materials. So if we scroll down a little bit, you'll see this Pathways new level 1 project descriptions. It contains the new level 1 project descriptions as of October 27th, 2021. Now I created this as sort of an overview. This is what the new information looks like. But I first of all want to say, that's the point. The delineating marker is not everybody has to be on board on a specific date. If you bought level 1 when this first came out and you're like, well, how do I get credit for level 1? You still can. The delineating factor, that sort of line in the sand, is when you purchased level 1. It really doesn't matter anything else. So if you bought a path after 10/27/21, then you're going to be using this. This is what it looks like because you're interested. So these are the projects. Many of these are going to look familiar. The icebreaker and evaluation and feedback is still there. There was a project called researching and presenting that used to be in the previous curriculum and is completely valid. Again, if you bought it 2 years ago, you're still working on level 1 for whatever reason, that is not going to go away. You will still get credit for level 1 by doing the curriculum that you began with. The purchase after 10/27, you'll see this. And then you've got these cool new projects here: writing a speech with purpose, introduction to vocal variety. And these are all the project descriptions for each of those that you can take a look at the Pathways Learning Center. Karen, does that address your question? And I think you might be muted.
Yes, it does, except that I wish they had been more forthcoming, or it had drifted down earlier. It was absolutely a shock to find that out, and I'm you did help me with that. And now I can tell people that they don't have to worry about throwing their speeches in the trash. I mean, that's horrible if you think about it.
It would be if that were the case, yes. And
Yes. So they've worked it out. Let me understand this. They've worked it out so that if you purchased your path before October 27th, it will have the old level 1 in it.
yeah,
And from the 27th forward, it'll have the new level 1 in it.
yes, for your personal
Okay.
path purchases.
It's
Yeah.
too bad they didn't make that clear, but thank you so much. That clears it up. And you did answer my next question, which is what does it look like? What does the
Oh,
new level 1 look like? Thank you so much.
perfect. Thank you, Karen.
Dave, just as a clarification, so if this new pathways one, I complete it. So now I want to get to a new path. I don't have to worry about that level 1. I just jump into whatever that level 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes.
And they don't worry about the level 1. So level 1 will cover all the other paths I purchase in the future. Is that correct?
Yeah. So in other words, it's not that we purchase level 1, but it's that we purchase a path. So whatever entire package we purchased, which would include the level 1 before the 27th if the path purchase was made, or the entire package, which includes the new level 1 for after 10/27 or on 27. The reason I know this is because I bought the new level 1 on the 27th, and I actually did 2 videos about that on my YouTube channel, and I'm happy to share that at some point if anybody wants to. But yes, does that clarify that, Harvey?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And Dave, if I could just clarify real quick, it's if the pathway was activated by that date or not, because if some people can purchase a path and then not activate it until a later time. And so the key here is when they activated the path.
I don't know that I would totally agree with that. We could find out for sure by calling Toastmasters, but to my understanding, it is actually based upon when you purchased it, because the whole path arrives in your base camp, and it's not like it's sort of in nowhere land until you press activate. To my knowledge, it is when you actually purchase it, and then at your leisure you can activate. It's not like they're just going to pull a fast one and all of a sudden it's a different curriculum. Like, let's say if I bought motivational strategies
Dave,
on 10/25, but then on 10/29 I opened it and it's going to be a different curriculum. I could find out for sure, but to my knowledge that wouldn't make logical sense, but it could be that way.
so Dave,
Is that Ellen?
yep. It's
Okay,
Civil
Ellen? Yes. Hi, Ellen.
Some folks in this club know that I go and visit several clubs across the US, one in Pittsburgh, one in New York, and one in Florida.
Okay.
So using those 3 clubs, a member who had about 4 paths they purchased, all of them prior to the date, working on one path, 2 paths, whatever, their level 1 remained the same for the 2 not activated paths. Okay.
There you go. Yeah, that
Okay.
makes sense.
For the one in Florida who was a brand new Toastmaster, paid the $20 for new Toastmaster, did not activate her TI account, and thus chose the path after the date. She's a new level 1.
Yeah, so I think we're sort of all in agreement here, such that basically it's the purchase that delineates. And again, I just want to stress for those that might be kind of like,
Right,
well,
but
sounds,
she became a member in 2020. She activated her TI account after the date of the transition to level 1.
right.
And therefore the activation date of her TI account caused the new level 1. So that's where I want to make sure folks understand. If you've got a new member that activates their $20, I'm a new member, and
Right.
I now select this path, that's the
Okay.
path they're on.
Now I know we're about 20 seconds out from the 15-minute mark, but just if I can clarify.
Yeah, clarify and summarize, please.
Yeah, so two things. One, we're actually talking about two different things. Well, first of all, let me say this is not a center of the page example. So for anybody beginning, maybe enjoy the ride, but forget about everything we just said because it won't affect you at all because it is so limited. It is literally like, did you purchase a path prior to 1027 and let it sit dormant until after then? Secondly, we're talking about activating a Toastmasters account, not the path. So my logic that I would stand by, I could be wrong, I don't think I am, which is if you, in Ellen's case, if you did not activate your Toastmasters account, then that is one issue. But if you purchased, in other words, your account was active and you purchased a path prior to 1027, then it would still be the old curriculum. Um, there's more I could say about that, but it's not my intention to leave this on a confusing note. I certainly wouldn't want to do that, but I hope that I've at least brought across the point of that this is a non-center of the page example. And does anybody, let me ask it this way to make, because at Toastmasters, the purpose is really important, not just this extraneous information. Does this affect anybody here? Has anybody purchased a path prior to 1027 that they have not activated? Could I have a show of hands if that is the case? I don't see that. So please don't worry about what we just said. I found it intellectually engaging, but I also want to make sure general utility is taking place. Thank you so much for the time sharing with you today. I hand control back to our Toastmaster, Joan. Let's give her a hand.
Thank you, Dave. That was valuable and compelling information. I was a little bit getting a little bit wound up, and then it was like you came in and cleared it all down. It's like, okay, the calming water. There's no storm. There's no storm.